So here we are at the new incarnation of the Croft circuit, where rounds 13 and 14 will soon be underway. So let's see how the first qualifying session is progressing. Well, it was a very tight session, but Beeler finally comes away with the pole.
Okay, so we are now halfway through the showdown, and we're for rounds 13 and 14. To begin the second half of the showdown, we are at the Croft circuit. And I think it's fair to say Frank Beeler is basically becoming the Lewis Hamilton of the showdown when it comes to qualifying, because he always seems to find a way of sticking that car on pole. That's just how phenomenal that car really is. So, starting 6th, this is more or less where I'd expect myself to be. Try not to get too much wheel spin. Got away reasonably well, as of which I am starting in 6th position. I wouldn't think I'm gonna beat the two runners here. I think that's probably a bit of wishful thinking, in my opinion, and the chaos happens. Yep. The chaotic, evil nature of the AI strikes again, and basically spins me to the back of the field, along with my teammate and also one of the Nissans. Because every time you try to avoid the chaos always seems to find you somehow, even if you don't want it to. It's just literally the way this game is pretty much designed to intimidate you. It's just literally the chaotic and evil nature the AI seem to embrace. And unsurprisingly, I do get spun to the back of the field, but at least I can say it's only taken me less than a minute to immediately snap myself and start gradually snaking my way up through the field. And yes, I am essentially zigzagging. And my teammate Calvin Burt is actually having a good run at the moment, because he's running in 5th. And I think the best result he's had up to this point of the season is 7th. I have no doubt in saying he is obviously not going to hold on to 6th position much longer, because I have a feeling Thompson, who was the other guy that got spun out in the first lap melee, will more than likely catch up to him. As I am now closing in on one of the Audis. Unsurprisingly, the Renaults have probably started to pull away from the rest of the field. Unless I can see one of the runners in front of me, but I doubt it. I'd say it's probably one of the Hondas that's in front of the Audi. But either way, I'm going to try and see if I can at least make my way through the field and hopefully, for one reason or another, make my way up to the podium, and yes I do. I'm now up into 3rd position. I'm quite sure the two runners by now have probably broken away from the rest of us, even though it's very early days in this race. But either way, I have a feeling the Renaults have already broken away from us. Yes, they have. It's already a 4-second gap. I don't think I'll be able to eclipse later on in the race because, well, I can see one of them, but I don't know where the other one is. It's probably not Jason Plato. It's probably not Jason Plato who is leading this race. But either way, I'm still catching up to one of the runners anyway. I've had basically 10 wins and 2 second placed finishes up to this point in the season. I basically had a perfect start in the first the first 8 races of the season, because I finished first in all of them, and yep, that is Jason Plato, sadly. Well, at least I can say I'm catching up to Menu, but I have no doubt in saying by the time we get down to the final quarter, that's when Menu is really going to start closing down the gap. But either way, here I am. And almost went for a spin there as I was negotiating those consecutive corners. And now I am right behind Menu and closing in fast, trying to see if I can maybe retake the lead from him, or take the lead I should say, although in saying that of course I immediately go for another spin. And it doesn't look as though Jason is going to stop Menu, unless I essentially give Menu a tap or something, just so he does not win the race. But I'm pretty sure this is where the AI will have the advantage over me, because, well, as I've learned in my Showdown attempts prior to this one, the AI seem to have the advantage over the player. And that also means Menu is technically going to beat me on this day anyway, unless there's another instance like Donington where I end up making contact with him and basically knock him out of the race entirely, but I really don't want to go through another one of those, if I'm being completely honest. And I think Menu has now broken away from me. Okay, well, he's less than 4 seconds up the road, so it's probably not impossible for me to catch him, as I cut the corner slightly there. Of course, the Croft circuit does have some relatively tight corners. I can just about see Menu in the distance. Of course, it would be nice if it was Jason Plato who was leading this race and not Alan Menu. But sadly, this is the harsh reality I have to accept at this stage. But either way, I'm still closing in on him, so maybe if it's possible I can lead a lap here at Croft, as I do now manage to take the lead away from him and lead the start of lap 7. So I'm in the lead for now, but I don't anticipate it's going to stay this way. I really thought for sure that was going to result in a spin, but somehow it hasn't. And Menu is now right behind me. I just hope he's going to race me fairly as we head down the stretch. I'd also like to say these are some flat out corners, so you basically do have to go foot to the floor through these corners before this, what's normally a right-hander. So heading through the hairpin now. Really wouldn't surprise me if Menu does end up making contact with me going into the hairpin. I do leave the door open. He does not look like he's going for the dive. And now the rest of the field is behind us. This is going to get interesting really quickly. So, the Menu is still there at the moment. But anyways, I am now leading here at Croft, and it does appear as though I could potentially be extending my championship points lead unless I... Ah, damn it. Do that. Oh, hi Jason. Well, I'm going to try not to take Menu out this time, but I am going to try and see if I can let his teammate Jason Plato through for the lead. Because, well, Plato has been close on a couple of occasions to winning, but he's not seemed to get the job done at this stage. Oh, I put him in the wall, and Jason also... And there goes Tarquini, and now Thompson is through for the lead. And, okay, that is Jason, who is now attempting to take the lead from Thompson. I'm just going to try and see... Oh shit, did Menu retake second? Oh. No, it doesn't matter, he's in the wall. And Jason is now up ahead of Menu once again, as I am now behind the Honda of Thompson. So it is fair to say we've definitely got a race on our hands. A chaotic one, but it's still a race either way. And now one of the Audis just got spun out by Thompson. So Jason Plato is now up to the lead. It's taken him 8 laps to officially have a shot at going for the lead, and well, since I don't really have to fight for anything at this stage, I do have a big points lead over the competition. I could probably continue my domination if I really wanted to, but either way, I'm not really racing for anything here. I'm just trying to retain my points lead as much as I can. Oh shit, I forgot to step on the brakes. And I've still not overlapped the Peugeot yet. But anyway. So, I've dropped down to 3rd now in a matter of just a few seconds, but either way, as long as I'm able to stay ahead of Menu at this stage, I don't think it really matters. I already have 10 wins up to this point in the campaign. Oh. Okay. And I just ran Jason wide. Sorry, Jason. That was my bad. Well, I'm not really fighting for anything here. Because I already have a 45-point lead, and it's looking more than likely to say, following this race, I will certainly extend on the lead I've already built up at this stage. So James Thompson leads the race. I'm going to let Plato through to try and see if he can track him down. Menu is still behind me, so technically, oh for fuck's sake. Yeah, that was a really bad ordeal there. And apparent as it might be, Jamie Bintcliffe is once again out of a race because of an incident I was ultimately the victim of. So once again, Bintcliffe has another DNF mainly because of my... oh fucking hell. Can I please stop spinning at this stage? Because that would be nice. Oh, and it looks as though my teammate was trying to overlap one of the Peugeots there, but ultimately, not too surprisingly, he did collide with me in the process. I think that was a really bad deal there for Jamie, but at least I can say I was not the cause of that incident. I was just effectively a victim of circumstances when Beeler basically spun me out, and then ultimately, as a result, he basically put Bintcliffe in a position where he simply could not get his car refired. I'm pretty sure I was not responsible for that, but it seems to become a trend here where whenever there is chaos, for one reason or another, it always seems to involve me somehow. For whatever reason. I am running in 6th, but either way, I'm not really racing for points at this stage. Well, I am just racing for points. Because I had a huge lead coming into the second half of the campaign. I'm also quite sure it's going to remain that way also, if I can manage to score enough points. I kind of knew this is where the AI would basically just put all of their tactics to hell and just answer me with chaos. And ultimately, it is fair to say, chaos has become the name of the game. Especially since I now know the AI are probably going to be stronger now for the rest of the season. Can I please stop spinning? Please? It would be nice if I could stop spinning, please. Well, at least I can say Kelvin wasn't right behind me when I had that spin. Well, it looks as though Kelvin is once again in his position of being lucky number 7 in terms of where he always seems to finish. Kind of like what Lando Norris essentially has, because, well, Lando always seems to have a habit of finishing 7th a lot of the time. Basically proving again that he is practically best of the rest when it comes to the midfield drivers in F1. I should also mention the Bahrain Grand Prix is on this weekend, and that will be the season opener. Although since I have a ton of other things to focus on this weekend. I unfortunately will not be watching it, but I'll at least be able to catch up on the results and highlights, because I normally do. Especially since one of the channels I am subscribed to is technically the Sky Sports F1 channel. So I'm pretty sure David Croft will no doubt be giving me his energized enthusiasm, along with Martin Brundle's automotive wisdom. And knowing that Martin Brundle is basically considered by many today as being the encyclopedia of all former F1 driver commentators. I should also mention another guy I quite like on the Sky Sports F1 crew is Jenson Button. To be completely honest, I always quite liked Jenson Button as a driver. I mean, he was hugely likeable, he was always there to prove he could definitely have quite a reasonable sense of humour. And it is fair to say, by many fans, he was a generally liked driver. As I'm now closing in on the Audi, and yeah, you know what? I'm just going to repay the favour. Just showing him I did not appreciate how he spun me out earlier on. Well, doesn't look as though I'm going to be any better than 5th in this race. But it'll definitely be interesting if James Thompson does come away from this race as the winner. Even though for Jason Plato it'll be frustrating because he will once again have to accept finishing second. But I am glad to say I did get my revenge on Biela for when he spun me out earlier, and he effectively took out his teammate as a result of him basically wrecking me. It is also a shame to say that Bintcliffe was a bystander in that incident. But even then, I basically knew I was going to lose at least some points to Menu. Coming out of this weekend, I always knew the AI were going to show a hand of chaos. Also, this is probably the 4th time now in the last 5 races where we've had one retiree from 4 out of the last 5 races. I really do hope that's a trend that doesn't continue, but at the moment at least it seems to be the trend we're going towards. So it doesn't look as though I'm going to win the race, but I think the best position I can manage to muster up at this stage is probably going to be 4th. If I can manage to catch up to Menu, yes, there he is. So it looks as though 4th position probably is the best I can hope for, whilst I am manoeuvring my way through lapped traffic, and also trying not to be involved in any more accidents at this stage. Doesn't look as though I'm going to catch up to the leaders, but looks as though I'm now going to take 5th position away from Menu, and he spun himself out as a result of him basically trying to force me off the road and spinning me out. But it wasn't going to work that time around because I was already there. There was no point in him attempting the dive bomb and forcing me off track, where he basically knew he was not going to win in that scenario. But anyway, so 18 laps will be on the board this time around. I have now cleared Menu once again here at Croft, and it looks as though this is going to be the first time in the showdown where I do not finish on the podium, unless something very bizarrely happens to TOCA in the end of this race. Then I am pretty sure I'm not going to get to the podium, unless I'm able to catch up to the Honda in front of me at a vast rate of knots and I do manage to clear him somehow, which could very well be the case, all things considered. I mean, I knew coming into this I probably had one of the best cars on the grid, and I'm slowly closing in on the Honda up ahead of me, but it will surprise me if I do manage to catch him. Whilst I can see there is quite a battle going on at the moment, and I think I just forced Cleland off the track there for a moment. That wasn't intentional. And looks as though Tarquini probably is going to hold on to his podium slot, and now I have just spun out. Oh well. Anyways, does this mean it's going to be more points for Ford? Or is it going to be one of the Peugeot drivers that ends up scoring? I really don't know which is which, in all honesty. But anyways. Yeah, I'm fairly confident in saying I'm not going to catch up to Tarquini in time. So it looks as though it is going to be a double podium for Honda. I don't think Plato is going to catch up to Thompson in the end of this race. Also trying to see if I can overlap Derek cleanly. Yes, I do. And thankfully, that is not going to get any worse. So, 4th position. I'm once again ahead of Menu, who is obviously proving to be way less consistent this time around than he was earlier in the game, where at one point he basically looked like he had my ass nailed to the wall in some points of championship mode, but in the showdown, however, that is proving to be nowhere near the case, because I seem to have one of the best cars on the grid, essentially, of the showdown, because I have 10 wins already in the campaign, and I have no question in saying I am probably going to get more. to add on to this. I have a feeling if all goes well, I will probably score about 15 wins. Maybe before this championship is out. Because that is just how consistently dominant I have been up to this stage of the Showdown. And we are only just over halfway. Which, to be completely honest, is amazing in and of itself. But either way, I really want to finish the game, because once this game is finished, then basically I no longer have to worry about going through all of the chaos again. So, 21 laps are now on the board. It looks as though from this point it's going to be 4th position or bust, considering all the chaos which has been basically hitting me from all sides, but I still managed to hold on to this car, and it looks as though I will build up my points lead yet again by at least another 2 points over Menu, at least heading into race 2, because I've just been that much better than him. So it doesn't look as though I'm going to catch up to Tarquini for the podium. This will be where my long streak of winning or finishing on the podium comes to an end. But it doesn't really matter, because I'm still ahead of Menu, who was basically trying to race me out of pure desperation, and it looks as though the pressure did get to him in that one instance where he made contact with me and he basically spun himself out as a result of him basically trying to race with me for points he probably wasn't going to get. So it is nice to see that we do have another team aside from Renault or Volvo that is actually leading this race. I'm slowly closing in on Tarquini, but I highly doubt I'll be able to catch him. I'm also pretty sure I may have the championship over and done with in probably before we get to the final round, because I know the next couple of tracks on the circuit will obviously be ones that favour the player, and I have no doubt in saying I am absolutely going to decimate the opposition. Although I would have a feeling Menu probably is going to come back stronger in the second race. But I am closing in on Gabriele Tarquini in the Honda. It'll be interesting to see who's ahead of him. It's probably Plato, but if it isn't, then it is fair to say Thompson will have done a phenomenal job. And I might still be in contention for a podium here. Oh, that's not the way I was wanting to take the position. Oh well. Is it Plato who's ahead of me, or is it Thompson? I do wonder. Oh, it's Thompson, so presumably it's Plato who is leading this thing. And it looks as though I'm now well clear of Tarquini, so Plato must have taken the lead early on in the race. Of course, Jason is fighting with Thompson for third position in the point standings, and I am closing in on Thompson, but I don't think I'm going to catch him in time unless he has a late spin. I highly doubt that's going to be the case, but either way, my streak of podium finishes will continue, and I start off the second half of the showdown with a podium. Considering everything else that's happened, I will definitely take a podium.
A comfortable victory in the end then for Plato, who drove a superb race. Here's the final positions.
Okay, so Plato won the race and eventually stormed away from Tarquini, apparently it was, who was in second. I finished in third, ahead of Thompson. Menu was fifth, followed by Beeler, Burt and Leslie. Once again, Calvin finishes in his lucky number 7 position. Anthony Reid was 9th, and John Cleland once again completes the points in the Vauxhall. And then the rest of the finishers, we had Derek Warwick, Tim Harvey, the 2 Fords, and Patrick Watts. All finishing ahead of Jamie Bintcliffe, who once again drops out of a race, not of his own doing, obviously. But I continue to extend my lead at the top of the table. And so, let's now move on to race number 2, here at Croft.